Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Shelly Lynn Hughes, and I am the host of this Pursuit 365 show, I guess you would call it. Today's guest is someone you definitely want to know if you or your brand are stepping in front of the camera. With over 25 years of national television, including television, City Line, and the Shopping Channel, Dawn Chubai is an award-winning broadcaster, media trainer, and live shopping strategist who knows how to captivate an audience and convert views into results. She's interviewed thousands, delivered live segments with no room for error, and sold over $30 million worth of products. Oh my gosh, on air even. Now she's using her experience to empower others through her signature HSH method of live selling, helping entrepreneurs, influencers, and big brands sell confidently and authentically through video. Whether you're preparing for a media appearance, gearing up for a live stream, or just want to look and sound your best on camera, Dawn brings in the strategy, training, and insider know-how to help you show up like a pro. I'm so excited to have her today. Welcome, Dawn Chube.
That was the shortened bio. Well done.
That was the shortened one. But here's the thing, Dawn. Okay, here's the thing with you is that you've got so much experience. Like you said, like you've got 30 years experience. I mean, you look like you're only 30, but you have 30 years experience. And you've got so much to share that you're more than just a host. Like, you're an experienced in many, many ways, right? So understandably, your bio is going to be longer. And I appreciate a nice bio. Yes, I did cut it in half.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, and here's the thing. And Shelley, you and I have known each other for a very, very long time. You have been an incredible advocate and someone who's amplified all the things that I've been a part of since I moved here to Vancouver. And so, yeah, it's a long bio, but it's accumulation of who I am, from an experiential standpoint, but it also shows all the many different things that, when we think of our own bio of what we can do. And it's so interesting, Shelley, because so often we get hurt, we get told to niche down. And I started to think, is that really undervaluing all of the different experiences that I can bring? And so, yeah, the reason the bio is long, because I just think, sometimes you capture someone different based on one little nugget of experience that, again, is in my, 25 plus year toolbox.
Hmm. Well, you definitely have the experience. Now, let's talk about the shift from being the on air host, and then the on air, basically doing sales, like we said, over $30 million in sales. Let's talk about how you shifted from that to doing what you're doing now, because you've started a new company. You're helping entrepreneurs and brands sell online. So you're teaching, like we just talked about. How did you do that shift? What made
Well,
you do that shift? Let's get inside your head.
sure. I mean, obviously, I was very successful doing national television. I started off in Edmonton, ended up 13 years here in Vancouver. The main reason people would know me from a broadcast TV standpoint is in particular breakfast television. I did some affiliate and co-hosting stints on City Line, hosted my own real estate show, cooking show, but when we moved to Ontario, that's when the shift from traditional broadcast, where everyone could potentially see you, to something a little more niche in the way of TV home shopping. And the reality is, we moved, long and short of it is just literally my husband got a job out east, and as a team we decided that this would be a good opportunity. And so I approached the shopping channel, which was still part of that Rogers network, to work on the shopping channel. And it was such an interesting job, and it utilized many of the talents and skills that I developed while working on breakfast television. So while, Shelley, it might seem that there's this different shift going from something like breakfast television to something like the shopping channel, where I did go on to sell over $30 million worth of product, I sort of brought it right down to the root of we're all really selling something. So even when I worked on breakfast television and we would go, I would maybe do a live eye at a kid's soccer camp, at the initial sort of side of it where you kind of think, well, what are you selling there? Well, we're selling the ideas of kids in sports. We're potentially selling registrations. Like, it's communication with the idea of converting. And so that happened all my time in television, all of it. And then moving to TV home shopping, it really wasn't that much of a stretch to move it into sales. And of course, there's a learning curve. Of course, you have to sort of figure out how to communicate through the screen in a way that drives sales by the minute, which is what we call dollars per minute. But it really wasn't that much of a stretch, Shelly. And then when we moved back to Vancouver, it was, again, my husband got an opportunity to move back to Vancouver for another gig as a team. We decided that I would commute for a year back and forth, Vancouver to Toronto, to continue to work at the shopping channel. And then there was a kind of a pivotal moment where I thought, you know what, I'm going to bank on myself and go all in on my live selling school in Dawn Chubai Media Services to continue to leverage all of the innate talents that I have, but also all of the things I learned over 25 plus years.
Amazing. What's been the biggest surprise for you from going from, going from being the live host or sales and being a breakfast TV host? What's been the biggest surprise going into entrepreneurship? Because you're really rebranding yourself and selling yourself now and your tools. What's been the surprise?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I would have thought, I will say, I would have thought that there would be people just immediately lining up at the door to wonder, what is Dawn doing and how can she help me? Because I was a fan of hers, or I'd watched her for years, and people that had sent me direct messages and people that I'd run into the street. And I kind of thought, oh gosh, if I amplify what I'm doing now, surely it will capture, the, let's call it 40,000 people I have on social media, and the potentially cumulatively millions of people that would have watched me over my time on TV. And I think the biggest surprise is that it did not happen. I still had to do what every other entrepreneur does, which is find that way into the rooms that would welcome me and that would understand what I was doing. So I would say it was a little bit like a cold water splash on the face when all of that, I'm going to say, visibility that I had over the years didn't necessarily translate into customer conversion. So that was my bad. But that's a learning now, that when I sit there and I work with brands and I work with influencers and ambassadors to also leverage their talents, to not rely on it and get complacent that their legacy or that their reputation would be enough to actually make a sale. You still got to do the work. So that was a good learning for me. But yeah, it was a bit like, whoa, okay, being Don Chube means absolutely nothing if you are changing the way people are viewing you and having them kind of figure out, are you of value to them anymore in the same way?
That's completely true. Like, I know that so many people just think they've got this great product, and I hate to say it. I mean, not to hate to say it. I love to say it. Don Chube is a great product. Like you are. You're a great product. You're knowledgeable. You've done the sales. You are your own product. But someone may have the best product in the world, which I consider you one of the best. But unless you're getting out there and trying to find a way to market it and sell it, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah, especially in an emerging space. So I would say that if all I focused on was my media training, I could be busy doing that all the time. And I am all through my time in television. And I had started my initial entrepreneurship as sort of fractional while I was working with the security of a paycheck working for Rogers Media for, again, almost 2 decades with Rogers itself. But it was something in me deeper that wanted to move past just that. I mean, anything to do with on camera, and whether you're selling yourself or your product, that's kind of the short version of the bio. That's something that I do. And so the fact that I worked in media, the easy, I'm going to call it low hanging fruit, but of course it's very high on my priority, of course, of what I do. But the easy thing is to go, Dawn's a media trainer. Dawn's just going to put herself out there to teach people to be good on camera. And trust me, you watch the TV every single day, and there are lots of people that can use that help. And if you're an entrepreneur that needs that help, I am 100% still committed to that. But when I started to realize that there was something additional that I could offer that, frankly, really no one else is offering right now in that live social selling space, especially with the credibility and the background I have. I thought, oh, there's something here that doesn't conflict with what I still do with my media training. And in fact, it only is widening that circle of what I'm able to offer based on all the things that Don Chube is, that is different than any other media personality or any other sales trainer or any other TV host.
Yeah. But the one thing I do love about you being a media sales trainer, a host, or everything is that now you have seen both sides of it. So it's almost like that person who's a coach, like a soccer coach, but has never played in a game, right? Like you see so many people out there, like they know how to teach it, but they've never done it. And I think when you can combine the two of them, that makes you much stronger as a teacher. So you've now had to experience, maybe the phone not ringing right away, and you've had to get out there and, I can't stand the word hustle because I find hustle's got such a negative sound to it to me. But you've got to get out there and put yourself out there. And as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur for 30 years now. It's extremely uncomfortable for many years to be, because it's like you don't want to hear the no's. You want that phone ringing off the hook, right? So the ego side of it, how did you kind of deal with that? Because there's a lot of ego with
Yeah.
not being a host, but being an entrepreneur and sharing your like I was on a phone call today. I try to do at least make 10 new contacts, quick chats, 15 minutes a day out of LinkedIn a week. So I'm doing 40 new a month just doing conversations like this. And a woman said to me, how are you putting yourself out there? Like, aren't you afraid of the no's? So let's go to you. I'm not anymore, but with you, how did you do that?
Well, first of all, same girl, same. And I yet still have to figure out a structure to my day to kind of work that funnel to the Don Chube brand, which has many different pillars and things that Don Chube as a brand can offer. But it's frustrating. And I'm sure anyone out there listening or watching can understand what I say, especially when you are passionate and your mind is like, how are people not knocking on the door and busting it down? And then you realize it's not to do with, because I'm busy and I've got lots of success happening in this space, but it is an emerging space. And so clearly, if it's not translatable on what you're seeing or hearing right now, if you're listening to the podcast, that I'm extremely passionate and I believe with absolutely every fiber of my being in what I'm doing. The frustrating part is when you tell somebody what you're doing, especially someone, for me, if I'm speaking to someone who is from my past, that only knows me as Dawn Chubai, who used to do weather, or Dawn Chubai, who hosted the real estate show, or Dawn Chubai, who was on TV Home Shopping, or Dawn Chubai that woke me up in the morning and made me laugh. When you're now looking to communicate the new offerings that you have and seeing the eyes glaze over because you start to realize that's not your room anymore. And it doesn't mean those people don't matter. And it doesn't mean that they don't still like you. And I think that's the ego part that sort of busts me up once in a while. It's like you start to realize that all of those, I'm going to say, maybe, I don't even want to say contacts or whatever. And maybe I'm speaking in two different ways. Like you've got your kind of your followers and fans who can be friends, but you don't usually know these people personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
But many of them do feel they know me personally. And I'm grateful for all of that experience. And then you've got your community that was built in particular, I'll talk about the media community and I count you in part of that as well. The difference is you're part of that media community, Shelly, but you are also part of the entrepreneurial community, which is why you and I have stayed connected. But there are many people who couldn't give two bloops about Dawn anymore. They see me and they're friendly and that's fine, but they could not tell you with any level of certainty of what Dawn is doing now. Why? Because I'm not part of that circle anymore. And do they care? Probably not. And the ego bust for me is that, oh gosh, I have to be okay with the fact that they don't care about me because we were never really that connected in
I
in a
understand.
real way, I guess. I hate to say that, but that's true. And I don't mean that for everybody, Shelley. Like, so if there's any
No,
media people listening, like, this doesn't mean Dawn doesn't like you and you don't think
no, no,
this is
no.
just, I mean, I was in a different room then, and now I've literally had to find the new room.
Yeah, yeah, I was in, well, my media started, and you and I laughed at this at the mastermind, but I put myself, like, I was not from media, but I put myself there. Like, I'm not, just before Dawn and I came on, I said, well, you're the pro here. I'm a pretty good amateur. So Dawn is from the real media world. I've put myself in the media world, which is hilarious. But from coming from the natural health food industry, that's where my media was from the very beginning. I haven't walked into a Canadian Health Food Association show in many, many years, of which I'm likely going to walk in there. I mean, it's been 10 years. Uh, but we just, we it's hard to kind of look back and say, well, I'm not part of that anymore because we really enjoyed our experiences there. But the reality is, Dawn, is that you have grown into a different space now. And it doesn't matter that that space wasn't important. It's just it meant something to you. And it still means something to you. You're just a different version of yourself. And that's like myself. I still love the natural health food industry. That's where my journalism started. And then I moved into the beauty industry. So then, I went from one magazine to a beauty magazine. So I get that because it's kind of, you appreciated those times.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little emotional. Sorry.
All
Because it
right.
is. Um it's tough when you have so much history in a space and you love it and you love it and you still loved it. And I guess the thing that I, appreciate is all of the experiences and people that I met over that
Mhm.
time. And I'm lucky because I left the broadcasting industry on my own terms. And I know there are a lot of journalists and TV personalities that are being pushed out for whatever reason they're being pushed out. And I was never pushed out. So I'm so grateful that I left on my own terms, and I left with a very clear vision of what my trajectory was going to be. And I think that stems from always having that entrepreneurial spirit. Like, I started my media training business, and I was always and I was a jazz singer and a recording artist and actor and all this stuff. And I always had the other stuff going, even when I was making that really, really, really good paycheck. And I'm not lying; it was a really good paycheck. Um, but it is interesting when you do move off, and then you kind of have to go, gosh, did any of that matter? And it really, really did. And so I never want
It
anyone to
did.
think that I didn't enjoy all of those experiences and all of those people, all of those people. But it's very gratifying now when I can make money independently without a big corporation. Is it the same kind of money? Not yet. No, 100%. But I'm piecemealing so many different things, and I've got so many things that are happening that every day I'm moving towards something. And I go into the mindset, I have to find out maybe more of a structure like what you have, Shelly, but because it's just me, right? Like, there are people that have big teams, and I'm still trying to figure out kind of how do I run the business part, because
Yeah.
I bring the talent and the skills and all the things that I have always done, which is help people succeed in front of the camera, on the stage, public speaking, selling the products or themselves. But I'm still trying to figure out the business part. Like, how do I wake up in the morning and make sure that you take care of Dawn before you get in front of the computer, before you start working on that new lead magnet or that sales page? And then, gosh, I better check in LinkedIn. Oh my gosh, don't forget to create a reel. Oh my gosh. And now I still have to make some money today to justify what I'm
You're at
doing
that
in some
point.
way, right?
Yeah, you know what will happen? I know what's going to happen because I've been there, done that. You're at that point now where you're growing to that next level as an entrepreneur. You are going to have to bring that assistant in that you trust. You are going to have to bring that salesperson in that you trust. You're going to have to bring that marketing person in that you trust. And it's that's such a tough position because you've gotten where you've gotten in your life being the success that you are because you've always been able to do it yourself. You've been able to make those deals with the corporate companies. You've been able to continue on in the corporate world because Dawn is Dawn, right? But then now Dawn is getting to a level. Now look at me. I feel like yeah, whatever. I should shut up. But Dawn is getting to a point right now in her entrepreneur world where you are going to have to get that team. So you're so good at what you do because you are bringing in all these clients. That's what's happening. And it's
Yeah.
hard to let go. It's
Oh,
so hard to let go and let someone else take care of Dawn's brand,
but
Dawn
who's going to
Chubay's
do it
brand.
better?
What's
But
that?
who's going to do it better than us? And so I feel like I'm getting a personal coaching session from Shelly. But if anyone's listening and watching, I mean, these are the things that go through the minds when you're it, right? You can't rely on a larger structure. And so I'm learning all of this, which is great because I trust myself. I do. And I trust that I know the right time to bring in people. And I
You
trust that I can
totally
rely on
know.
people like you and your masterminds. And, these 3 books that I've got in my background, if anyone's just listening instead of watching, I've been a co-author in 3 of the Pursuit 365 books. And these have been incredibly valuable to get in short form, because one page is nice short form, it's not a novel, of each
No.
entrepreneur that's featured, which is great. I mean, you were the OG on short form. It's like the YouTube shorts of a big podcast, right? Like, because you get so much information and you learn about the I don't even want to say struggles because it's all inspirational, but there, without question, there is a learning that everyone brings to it. And so, yeah, my learning is, oh my gosh, and I wouldn't change, I shouldn't even say what my learning is. I would say I wouldn't change the way I did things because I've always been a say yes, figure it out after, take what I know, run with it. And it might be the longer route sometimes, but by the time I would figure out the exact formula of how to do something, there would be somebody else ahead of me, and I don't want that. So for me, I'd rather be first, best, different and navigate it. And I'm okay with letting things go that don't work. But when you see that trajectory so clear, and now in particular with the live selling, the likes of Gary Vaynerchuk talking about the importance of this for businesses, and that in the next 5 years, this will be the #1 way for creators and influencers to make money, and that, live social shopping is a monster and that every small business should learn it. When I hear that, and then I start to see the uptick in my business, that, by the way, I started 2 years ago as far as the live social selling. And now I finally feel like I'm not screaming at the sky. And so it's so gratifying, Shelly, when I am getting that validation. And it's something that when you're in it for yourself as far as a business, but obviously with the goal of helping people, because no one starts a business without being able to solve a problem and provide a
No.
service. It is so gratifying because I go, I did that. I started that. I sold that. I helped someone do that. And I am not sure I've ever felt so proud in my life. I worked in television, on camera, interviewed so many great people, met so many great regular people that had great stories to tell, and worked for a company that I loved, and still absolutely Rogers was very, very good to me. But have I ever been as proud of myself as I am right now today talking to you? No, it's just such a weird thing.
It is. It's funny when you're an entrepreneur, like the stuff that you do for yourself. We're different animals. Like we are different animals. It's like, and I love, Dawn, that you are actually acknowledging that you're like, hey, I've done this. I've done this in my past, and this is what I'm doing right now. And I know what my future, like, I love that you're so confident in that because that's the difference between someone who succeeds and someone who doesn't succeed. You're like, I just know. And I think that's the difference between, yeah, entrepreneurs that make it and don't make it. I know. I know. And here's the thing is I take advice from a ton of people. I take advice from them. And you know what I do? I take the advice and I think about it and I'm like, go with what you know. So you know. I love that you acknowledge that because a lot of people they don't acknowledge what they've done, what they're doing,
Yeah.
and and what their future, they don't know where they're going. They don't acknowledge all the kick-ass, excuse my language, stuff they've done in the past, and they have no idea what's happening right now. So good for you.
Well, and the only reason I think an entrepreneur can stomach all the things that we stomach, including half the time, like if I look at the majority of my day, it's doing things for things that I hope to capitalize or monetize a year from now. And it's a lot of freaking work. I've never worked so hard in my life, and some days for free. And the reason I'm willing to do that, and I'm sure the reason you've been willing to do it, call it hustle, call it resilience, call it whatever you want. The only reason we do that is because we believe it so much. And if you cannot be and are not willing to do that work, knowing that today you might not get paid for something because you don't have a regular paycheck just coming every 2 weeks and benefits and all this other stuff, then don't be an entrepreneur. Or just be a partial entrepreneur. Just have a side hustle if that's what you want. But if you're going all in, you've got to believe it so much.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to. But you have no choice. And again, you can have those down days. I mean, obviously you and I have those down days. There's times I'm like, oh my gosh, like, oh, I'm outlaying this amount of money for that, or I've got to, there's days that
Or you're exhausted.
We're exhausted.
Or you're exhausted.
Well, that pink book behind you.
Yes.
The pink book, there was 111 women in that book from 13 countries. For the last, I would say 8 weeks, I might have gotten 4 hours sleep a night. It was crazy. It was nuts. The easiest one was actually the white one, and there was 365 women in there. And it was during COVID though, so everyone was at home. But as we get busier and busier, everyone's got companies and, things like that to do. So tell me, what's up next for you? That's something that's really exciting and, that's exciting. I mean, I know you've got a lot of exciting stuff. Is there something specific that stands out personally or professionally?
Yeah, you know what? It's now I'm starting to get invited to more conferences to speak about this, and I'm getting approached more to do sales training, like in a workshop format. So, I have obviously my online course, which I created for creators, and I still work one-on-one, whether it's media training or live selling. And so there's all of that. I have my podcast and I create tons of content, but I was really excited this last, I guess it was in February, I went to Makeup in LA, which is this big trade show for people that are looking to create their own, essentially, beauty brands. And so you have all the different manufacturers. Like, I've never seen so many eyedroppers and packaging for products in my life. And I know that you know that part of the business as well. When you were doing Fresh Magazine, you probably had some of these people that would be at.
Well, and not only that, I don't think I was in the skincare industry. I did an exclusive label for PharmaSave Canada. My product was in 800 of their stores. And then I was also a partner with a girl, because of Fresh Magazine, in Vancouver, Skin Holistic Rejuvenation Clinic. We had our own skincare line that was in medical spas. So I was actually a partner I owned the one for PharmaSave Canada, but then the other one I was a partner in. So I know
then
packaging, the labeling. Oh,
But so I was at this conference and we were speaking about AI and beauty, the retail industry in particular, and also, of course, live selling for beauty brands. And so just to kind of give you that example of the kinds of thing I'm doing that I'm excited about is, every time I'm invited to do something like that, or speak at a digital marketing conference or attend a trade show, which I hope to do more of, that's kind of where I'm trying to find my rooms and to attract who I believe are the people that I need to be aligned with. And then I'm starting to collaborate with different PR firms, to help their clients navigate the things that I can do as like that trusted partner, but also them provide resources to my students and my clients. So I think it's that collaboration that I find probably the most exciting, Shelly. And, I know that you're somebody who's a big collaborator as well. Even being on a podcast like this is so important, and being in books like Pursuit 365, because it is when we start to realize the synergies that exist amongst so many of us, you feel very much less alone as a solo entrepreneur, right?
absolutely. You're not going to a corporate office every day and talking beside the water feed, right? So yeah, no, I think it's really important for people to connect. And that's what I think. So the more shows you do, the more you get out there. Yeah, it's what you're all about. This is what you're meant to be doing. You're one
Yeah,
of the first people I'll ask to come speak at my mastermind. That says something.
it does. And I was in good company. You have the likes of, Biff Naked and Tosca Reno. And, I've met all these fabulous ladies. And so I'm thrilled to be kind of in that company. But yeah, when I first started even out on my own and really pushing what live selling school was, I kind of thought, oh, it's all about the sales pages and the lead pages. And then I started to realize where I was making the most impact was FaceTime with people, right? And of course, a lot of it virtual because funny fact, the majority of my clients are not in Canada. I mean, I've got clients in the US and I've got students in as far away as Japan. So it's so interesting again, because you'd think my major network would be here where I've been on television for, a quarter of a century, but that sort of speaks to kind of the beginning of the podcast. But I started to realize that on camera connection, that there's nobody that's going to sell me better than me. Print will not sell me. I mean, and I love the books, but it's ultimately, that's a great conduit, but it is talking to me in person. And so that's when I think about what my secret sauce for other people is. And when I think about the number one thing that I hope entrepreneurs do today, and this is not a push, go work with Dawn. This is just think about how you are presenting yourself as that first impression. And on camera, I don't care if it's Zoom or Teams, or I think Skype's shutting down, I don't know, but whatever the way, or if it's a coffee, face to face with someone, in this world of AI and things becoming so less personal, take advantage of opportunities to connect eyeball to many, one-to-one, whatever, podcasts like this. Actually taking the time to put yourself on camera on social media is one of the most impactful ways to show that there is a human behind your brand, your product, your business, and that you're not just a chat bot. You're not just chat GPTing everything. And I love me some chat GPT. Trust me, it makes life very easy, but do not forget that the A is authenticity first. And that is going to help you leverage your authority. And that is the most intelligent way that you can run your business and your personal brand.
So I was going to kind of end this with give us like 5 tips. So you've basically given us one tip. So give us 5 tips for someone who is an entrepreneur and they're just trying to, grow. 5 tips. So the one is authenticity, you say, and get in front of people.
Yeah, and on camera. So let's take to kind of what my niche is obviously communicating through the camera. So I would say if you're not comfortable on camera, the only way you're going to get comfortable on camera is by going on camera. And that doesn't mean you have to broadcast it all to YouTube or even social media yet, but grab your phone and tell a story, press record. So that's the first step. And then you're going to watch it back. And then you're going to say, I don't like how I look, or I don't look like how I sound. Great. So then your tip number 2 is to do it again. Wow. And then again and again and again. And I won't use all the tips for that, but you gotta rinse and repeat, and you gotta keep going. If you don't like the way your voice sounds, if you think it sounds too high, practice speaking in that lower register. If you don't like your energy, stand up. Don't sit down. You can do a podcast standing up if you want. You just raise your desk or find a way to prop something up so that you can stand. If that's when you feel you're most powerful and you're most authoritative and most confident, set yourself up for that stage. And then just create. Don't wait. Do it scared, but you gotta start somewhere and just do it. And don't wait for somebody to invite you. If you want to be on podcasts and no one is calling you as a guest on a podcast, make your own podcast. YouTube is free. Make your own podcast, kids. There's somebody that's going to want to listen to you, and all you have to do is put yourself out there. There are billions of people on this planet, and I promise there is somebody who will listen to you.
I love that. So I think that's 4. 3, 4.
I don't even know how many it was, because
whatever it was, they were all amazing.
I'm not gatekeeping anything.
That's okay. That's okay. Now, all right. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to be putting your longer bio inside down there, and I'm going to be putting your social media channels and connecting if people want to connect with you. And let's just say they send you an email and they want to connect. What would be your first step with them?
Yeah. So, I mean, I offer, clarity chats and, consultation calls, and I call it that. It doesn't even mean necessarily that, oh gosh, the outcome is that you must work with Dawn. A lot of that is determining whether or not I can be of service to you. I'm not looking to sell you on something that is not right for you. So, absolutely, you can reach out to me. email me, of course. And I know that with the information you have, the websites, there's direct access to my email. And I would say that's the first step, is to find out who you are, what you're about, and is there a way to offer assistance to you, or is it just a matter of me pointing you in the direction of the many, many free resources that I have? Because I've got a lot of free resources on my website as well. So yeah, those would be first steps. And honestly, that's the first step to anything, right? You walk into that room, you go, does someone look interesting? Let me go shake their hand and spark up a conversation. And maybe that's the last conversation you ever have, or maybe you become fast friends and business partners. It's just, you never know where it's going to take. But yeah, reach out. Absolutely. Thank you.
And everyone, I've known Dawn for many, many years, like at least 15 years.
I would
She's
say
one of,
closer to 20. I'd
yeah,
say
20
closer
years,
to 20.
probably 20. And I've known her, one of the nicest, outgoing, kind people you're ever going to meet. So do not afraid to send out the email. So I'm going to sign off for today because it is Friday afternoon here, and I'm sure you have many better things to do with Shelly. But I do have a question. So for many years, as much as I know Dawn, her last name is Dawn Chube. It's not Dawn Chubai. Now, this whole conversation, I keep going back. When I introduced you, did I say Dawn Chubay?
Yes, you did.
Thank goodness I
You
did. I
certainly
know it's Dawn
did.
Chubay, but I just was like, oh my gosh, Shelly, because we had just had the conversation before that. Anyways, the lovely Dawn Chubay is signing out. I'm signing out. And thank you all for watching. And Dawn, you have a lovely weekend.
And you too, as well. Thank you so much, everybody.